Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Akstar and Cleome, their STMR, TMR, vision card, base forms, brave shift form, strengths, weaknesses, rotations, and sample builds, and I'll give my final thoughts at the end. So Akstar and Cleome are two-handed physical attackers that can function as both chainers and finishers. They specialize in ice and dark elements. They deal extra damage to humans and enemies with broken gauges. Their BS form brings a unique imperil to instruments. So here is their TMR. It's called the Sword Duo. Passive: increase attack 70 when equipped with a katana, increase LB damage by 30%. It's a unique TMR materia that gives the highest attack bonus when equipped with a katana while boosting LB damage by 30%. The closest TMR I can compare it to is the Courage to Move On from Cloud FF7 AC, which gives an unconditional attack bonus of 60% and an LB damage increase of 30%. Overall, it's a great TMR. It's usable in both forms. I'll give it a SS rating. STMR is called the Odachi Connecting Teachers and Pupils. It's a katana, two-handed weapon, accuracy plus 50, 1.05 to 1.55 damage variance, and it has a passive human slashing dance, increase physical damage against humans by 50%, increase LB damage by 50%. It's the highest flat attack two-handed katana in the game right now. The second closest is Quadra Katana from Supreme Deva Akstar, coming in at 188 attack. It is best in slot for their base form and also for their brave shift form if you're building them through double hand. There are katanas that have higher human killer than this one, like Searing Ember from Xeno of the Beta Star, which has 75 human killer. It is the only katana that has an LB damage boost passive, so it's quite unique. SS rating for me. And their vision card is Festival Preparation, Akstar's team. Level 1 stats, base attack 40. Level 10 stats, base attack 90. It has passives for level 4, 7, and 10. Number 1 passive is Present 1, increase attack 40% when equipped with a katana. Present 2 is still the same. And last passive is Ribbon Not Early Work, only limited to FFBE units. And increase equipment attack by 50% and accuracy 25 when single wielding any weapon. It is the only vision card in the game that gives 50% TDH. It's quite unique. The attack bonus and flat attack are lower than Guiding the Youths, 120% and 100 respectively. So it's a good vision card if you're missing TDH equipment, but it's not best in slot for either of their forms. S rating for me. Base form strengths. Their base form specializes in ice attribute Absolute Mirror of Equity Chaining. They can boost their dark and ice damage by 15% also. They have the skill to do that. So their first attack is Ice Sound Sword level 5, ice physical damage 80 to one enemy, AMOA chains. Silent Hellblade is ice physical damage 115 to all enemies. It's their cooldown ability, available on turn 5 turn cooldown. Last is the Ice Storm Melody. 3D uses per battle, unique selection and multicast, increase ice and dark physical damage 15%. Also boost ice and dark magic damage for 15%. It has an additional effect, increase LB damage 200% for 3 turns of caster. Their LB is a physical tag team attack that is non-elemental. It can be imbued with ice or dark by the unit themselves or other elements externally. It has triple AMOA frame, so it can chain with any triple cast AMOA chainer. They have an LB damage passive of 100% and an active LB damage buff of 200. So their LB is called the Deadly Sword or Sanka. 24 hits, 50 LB crisps. Grand tag attack for specific ability, which is this ability, and physical damage 100 to one enemy. And their passives are the strength that the teacher and student aim for, increase LB damage 100%, and also increase physical and magic damage against demons and humans by 50 and 200% respectively. Just physical damage, no magic damage. And also increase physical damage against broken enemies by 70%. And lastly, Ice Storm Melody increases LB damage 200. That's a previous skill. Right, some utility skills that they have in their kit. They can boost a party's damage, physical and magical, to humans by 150% and mitigate damage, physical and magical, coming from humans by 15%. They can self-imbue ice and imperil the enemy to ice by 120%. They can also cure attack and spirit debuffs to themselves, as well as buff attack and spirit by 300. Human slashing time, 5 turn cooldown, available on turn 1. Increase physical and magic damage against human 150% and also mitigate damage. Frozen Air of the Emperor is decrease ice resistance for 4 turns to enemies. Add ice element to physical attacks for 4 turns. 4 uses per battle. It's limited, so the longer the fight is, the harder it is to imbue element. Alright, and then Mind Sonata is the attack and spirit boost. It also cures attack and spirit breaks to themselves. And lastly, they have a Bard ability that refreshes MP, boosts LB damage, and buffs LB fill rate to the party. I guess that must come from Cleome. It's called a bullet dedicated to the teacher. So 5 turn cooldown, available on turn 1. First cast is the refresh 100 MP, split over 1 turn to all allies. So flat 100 MP for 1 turn. Increase LB gauge fill rate 150 for 1 turn. And then auto cast in the next turn, refresh 125 MP. Increase LB gauge fill rate 150% and additional effect of increase LB damage 100% for 1 turn to all allies. And last, third turn, autocast after 2 turns, refresh MP 200 for 2 turns to all allies, so it spills over to the next turn. Increase LB gauge fill rate 200% for also for 2 turns. And lastly, increase LB damage 100% for 2 turns to all allies can't be dispelled. Their passives, they have 200% magical true, 200% TDH and 200% attack, making them easy to gear. They also do 70% more physical damage to enemies that have their break gauge depleted. So going down the list, they also have 20% defense, HP 70%, and defense and spirit 50%. They also have a chance of ignore fail damage 100% when HP is about 1%, max 1 time. And they have ice resistance of 50%, fully immune to blind, sleep, paralyze, confuse, petrify, also stop. And they increase LB gauge 5 per turn. I think that's their trust passive. Also have LB gauge fill rate 200%, and last is recover MP 7% per turn. So what are their weaknesses and base form? While their LB hits hard, they have no skill to fill their LB gauge. So they're missing that LB fill skill. They need to rely on external LB fill or let their LB gauge build naturally. Their LB also costs a high amount of LB crysts at 53, so it's quite expensive. And also their ice imbue is limited to 4 uses per battle, which might be an issue if the battle lasts long. Here's a sample build for their base form. Build them for true double hand and LB damage in their base form. Since they can't fill their LB by themselves, it's a great idea to equip them with the Call of the Wild materia for auto LB and also some LB damage. So we have their STMR as their weapon, Red Hellbore, Glacial Battle Garb, Riku's Glove from Riku KH3, Warlord Leg Guards from Zenaida, and their ability is Master of Fate from Envy Cloud to cap their TDH, Guardian of Light Sora for attack and LB damage, Sword Duo is for attack passives, also procs their Trust passive, and Call of the Wild for auto LB. And for a vision card, Guiding the Youth will be used so they can have a flat attack of 100 and also a lot of bonus attack since they are holding katana. Here's a sample rotation for their base form. So set up for the first 2 turns and then use Ice Sound Sword level 5 as much as possible until your LB is ready. Remember to use their cooldown ability when available, so that's on turn 5. Use Ice Storm Melody to buff LB damage before using LB. So just going through the list, first turn, Ice Storm Melody, Mind Sonata, Ice Sound Sword level 5, so that's 80. And on turn 2, Frozen Air of the Emperor, Human Slashing Time Bullet dedicated to the teacher, and then it will autocast until turn 4. So on turn 5, use your cooldown. Turn 6, buff again your attack. And then turn 7, use Ice Storm Melody to have the LB damage. And then turn 8, use your LB. It's a tag team attack, so you don't need to chain with anybody. If you have triple T AMOE chainers in your party, you can chain them with this LB. And then last is turn 9, Ice Sound Sword level 5 theory. So that's a sample rotation for their base form. Let's go over to their Brave Shift form. What are their strengths? And so they can equip daggers, swords, great swords, katanas, harps, hats, helms, and clothes, light armor, heavy armor, and robes. So they have a lot of options for armor equipment. It is available from turn 1, duration infinite turns, cooldown to normal 1 turn, and cooldown to Brave Shift 2 turns. So Akstar and Cleome turns into a Dark Element tag team attacker in Brave Shift form. Their first attack is the Dark Sword Unison. Level 5, grant tag attack for specific abilities for 1 turn to caster, Dark Sword Unison. And Dark Physical Damage 40 with Ignore Defense 50% to 1 enemy. That's 80. Tag chain. Jet Black Fortissimo is the 5-turn cooldown, available on turn 5. Grant tag attack for specific abilities for 1 turn, this ability. And then Dark Physical Damage 52 with Ignore Defense 50%, so that's 104. Also tag chains. So their LB turns into a finisher move that has a Katana and Imperil attached to it. So it only hits once, good for finishing. The only other unit that can do a Katana Imperil is Assassin Shadow and V. They retain access to their 200% LB damage buff, and they have more passive LB damage at 150%. So their LB is called the Astral Melody. 1 hit, 53 LB crit, same as their base form LB. Physical damage 125 to 1 enemy. So good mod there. Decrease Katana resistance 15% for 4 turns to 1 enemy. And their passive is the new collaborative technique of teachers and pupils. Increase fire, ice, dark resistance by 30, and also increases LB damage by 50%. So their 2 other passives are also available from their base form and Brave Shift form. They can power up their finisher move with a new Bard ability that increases its modifiers as well as buffs that parties attack by 300%. It also removes all debuffs from party as well as imperils the enemy to instruments. This ability is great for setting up before the kill turn in Dark Visions. So their finisher ability, which is available in both forms, but only the Brave Shift form has this mod increase. It's called the Twin Agitate or Agitate. Level 5, physical damage 40 with Ignore Defense 50% to 1 enemy. So that's 80. But if we use the new Black Bullet, Master and Disciple, it will increase the mod of that finisher skill. So 5-turn cooldown, available on turn 1. Increase attack 200% for 1 turn to all allies. Increase modifier 40 for 3 turns to this ability. And also increases modifier 2.5 for their cooldown ability, which is called the Jet Black Fortissimo. And then autocast next turn, increase attack 250 for 1 turn to all allies, and also cures attack, defense, magic, and spirit rake. Also cures stop and charm to all allies. So, but that's just 1 turn of curing. And also decreases instrument resistance by 15% to all enemies. This time it increases modifier for the Twin Agitate 80, and then still 2.5 for Jet Black Fortissimo. And then last is increase attack 300% for 2 turns to all allies. Remove all debuffs from all allies. That's gonna be useful. And then decrease instrument resistance 15%. So same, it didn't increase. And then modifier will be 110 for Twin Agitate. And increase 5 for Jet Black Fortissimo. So that's quite a big chunk of modifiers there for the Twin Agitate. So utility, there's They still have access to their AoE human killer buff and their ice and dark attack boost. They can now imbue dark and imperil dark in this form instead of ice. Lastly, they can still self-cure attack and spirit debuffs and buff attack spirit by 300%. So the human killer is called a human slashing time, and then dark imperil and imbue is called the melody of darkness. Decrease dark resistance 120% for 4 turns. So all enemies add dark element to physical attacks for 4 turns to caster. So it's also 4 uses per battle. So it's gonna be a weakness if the battle goes longer than intended. Passives, they still have 200% TDH and 200 attack. They gain 50% more passive LB damage compared to their base form. They lose the 200% LB fill rate passive, but gain 30% resistance to fire and dark. Their ice resistance is a bit lower though. So going down the list, they still have the same passives except for those that I mentioned. They also lose the defense 20% in favor of increased MP 20%. Alright, so let's move on. Weaknesses for the Brave Shift form. There are a lot of things to talk about. So they still suffer from not being able to fill their own LB gauge. They even lose their 200% LB fill rate passive to make things worse. Their katana imperil is attached to their LB, making it hard to land on the enemy. So you have to fill their LB 53 crysts just to imperil the enemy to katana. But it can be done with an external LB fill unit. Their finishing move, Twin Agetate, is not part of their triple cast. So it only casts one time. The only way to make it cast multiple times is to build them for dual wield. They don't have any true dual wield passives. They don't have innate dual wield, and the 200% increase in chain modifier cap going to be a struggle to gear them for dual wield. But if you do gear them for dual wield, it's gonna be worth it because their Twin Agetate will hit hard, even though it's just dual wielding. Casting twice. Although they have the first instrument imperil in the game, there are no high attack instruments in global right now. The highest attack instrument in JP is Ambi's STMR at 164. She's not in global, she's unreleased in global, but we might see her soon, TM. There might be a spirit or mag based damage dealer who can take advantage of the imperil in the future. So since there are instruments that have high mag and high spirit, who knows? Lastly, their dark imbue is limited to 4 use battle, as I mentioned before, which might be an issue if the battle lasts long. So here's a sample build. There are lots of ways to build their BS form. You can go TDH plus LB, or true dual wield plus LB, or just simply TDH or TW. It depends on your equipment pool, on your equipment choices, and how you want to use them to deal damage. So the easiest way is TDH, like their base form, but we're gonna build them true dual wield. So here's what it looks like. So we're gonna use 2 dark vision weapons, Dark Masamune and Dark Ragnarok, fully upgraded, Red Hellbore again, Glacial Battle Garb, and then 2 of Zenaida's STMRs. That might not be practical, but this is the STMR build. 2 Warlord Legards. And then for ability, Awesome Swordsman to enable dual wielding, Sword Duo, that's their Trust TMR, and then Call of the Wild for auto LB and LP damage. So there are 2 slots for killers, and then Vision Card is facing the Demon Tower. Limited Vision Card from Riku KH3. It gives them flat attack of 110 and a lot of attack passives. So here's another build. For this build maximizes the damage of their finishing move and LB. So this combines true dual wield and LB damage. So we're gonna be using 11's STMR, Supreme Sword of Light, that increases LB damage. Dark Masamune again, and then Lion Armor from Stern STMR. Increases LB damage too, and 2 Warlord Legards, so they can cap true dual wield, And then Awesome Swordsman for dual wielding again, and then Call of the Wild, facing the Demon Tower. So it's pretty similar to the first build, but this takes advantage of their LB too. So you can hit with their LB. LB will hit hard too. So this sample rotation for their ratio form uses their tag attacks for doing damage. So most likely you'll build this true double hand. So first is Ice Storm Melody, Mind Sonata, Dark Sword Unison. So just set up on the first 2 turns. And then turn 3, use your cooldown ability, your Bard ability, and then do Dark Sword Unison. That's their tag attack, dark damage. Turn 4, do their cooldown, Dark Sword Unison, and then Jet Black Fortissimo. And then turn 5, 3 Dark Sword Unisons. And then turn 6, repeat from turn 1. So it's pretty easy. Modest modifiers on this rotation. Alright, so next is rotation that uses their LB and finishing skill to do damage. So this is true dual wield and also build for LB. So turn 1, right at the gate, use their Bard ability, new Black Bullet, Master and Disciple, and then Ice or Melody and Melody of Darkness to imbue dark. And then second turn, Human Killer, and then sneak in 2 Dark Sword Unison Snare. And then turn 3, use your finisher ability. So it will cast twice when you're dual wielding. That will hit for 600 modifier. So pretty good, even though they're not supposed to be built through dual wield. And then turn 4, Dark Sword Unison 5, and then Ice or Melody and Mind Sonata, so you can rebuff your attack. And then turn 5, use your LB, so that's Astral Melody. Assuming we have a passive of 300%, active LB boost of 200, that will hit for 750. So it's gonna be a hard hitting LB. Also, use it as a finisher, and that'll be useful in Dark Visions. Alright, so some unit synergies here. This list is not exhaustive. Assassin Shadow and V for the Katana and Peril, since Akstar and Cleome's are hard to land since it's locked to their LB. Then Uraisha and V for LB support. And lastly, Ibarra for the LB damage buff and Dark Chaining, because she needs the LB damage buff. Also, ENC might help them with the Dark Chaining, so Ibarra can cap the Dark Chains. So can you think of other unit synergies? Let me know in the comments. And then my final thoughts, Akstar and Cleome bring the best 200 katana in the game. They also have 2 weapon imperils in their kit, namely katana and instruments. Their vision card is the first vision card that has a TDH bonus. This is limited to FFBE units, however. They are a mix of support and damage dealer. They will find a use in Dark Visions with their unique Bard ability in shift form that dispels the party's debuffs and buffs attack. They can also burst hard with their Brave Shift forms LB. They can also buff 100% LB damage to the party, which only a few units in the game can do. Namely, Envy Rain, Yoshikiri, but his is a bit higher, 150% in his Brave Shift form, and Realm. So quite a few units that can do that. So if you're missing those units and you want an LB damage buffer, you might pull on Akstar and Cleome. Overall, they bring a bit of everything, especially when fighting human enemies weak to ice and dark. They are fairly easy to build through double hand, and their STMR is dust and slot on them. Both forms if you want to build the Brave Shift form for TDH. If you're looking for an offensive support / damage unit, consider pulling for them. So I hope this video has helped you decide whether or not you want to pull on Akstar and Cleome. Let me know in the comments if I made a mistake somewhere there. And also what unit synergies are good for them. What you think of the unit. Are you pulling for the unit? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like the video, click on the notification bell to get notified when I upload new videos. And as usual, thank you for the support and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.